Okay, an early stream this morning. I actually have quite a bit of progress. It's so funny how suddenly it gets very discouraging. I feel like super stuck, and then something happens, and then maybe it's just my mood that day. Because yesterday I was super tired, waking up right after 5. Well, today it was right before 6, so that's an improvement. Uh, let's see. So I want to show the state of the app now. So what's interesting now is like this balance between direct user interaction with like the experience of this application as opposed to like using the AIs or like the agents. I should start saying agents instead of AIs. This has been actually a bit confusing to me because I thought agents was really the agent's workflow. Like that's what define like agents. It's because they work together. But an agent is just like a GPT with functions. I'm coming to understand it now, it's just a natural language model that can do things. That's an agent. Oh. And then you have agent workflows, which is just more of them working together. So let's just call them agents for now. And the cool thing now, let's see if this works. So I want task management. So I'm like insanely ambiguous about this. And again, I think it's just because it's GPT 3.5. And that's why it calls the function multiple times. No idea why. I want to view a list of tasks. As usual, I want to add a new task to task list. I want to mark a task. Yeah, so this is what I had in mind. Like, but it could come up with, I've seen like many different examples there. It could come up with like notifications and priority levels. Like it could produce 10 user stories here, right? But this is actually really good. And then I added an ambiguity report state. So it has a user story as a state, but it also has an ambiguity report, which I'm returning here. So I just ask it to basically report any ambiguity in the user stories. And when I click approve, I'm not like telling the product manager that, yeah, I'm happy about this. I'm just moving straight to the next agent using this. So the current agent is the product manager. I have access to its state. I click approve. I take the state of the current agent and I run the next agent, which is the UX engineer. So it basically builds on top of the existing user stories. And that's much better. Like, because I was struggling with like, how do I make the agent understand that I approved it? And I tried different states, but the point is like you don't need it to approve it. Like approving means move on to the next thing. So I'm seeing more and more like the perspective I'm gaining now is like, okay, I'm using these natural language models to, well, at least in the context of user stories, to just build the user stories. It's not about like understanding that they're part of a team and doing handovers and stuff like that. No, that is the user experience I am creating on top of that. So yeah, so what we see here now, it takes the same user stories, it just populates it with some more web element specific stuff. Clear and organized manner. As user, I want to click on the add task button to add new task in the list. As user, I want to mark a task by clicking on a checkbox next to, so it like is more specific about the UI. And delete the task using a delete button. Okay, this is fine for me. And now it's going to the engineer. And the engineer, as a user, when I open the application, I want to see, so I prime the engineer to do state management and like functionality, like looking at the user stories, how does the state of the application change related to these user stories? So it enhances it with when I open the application, I want to see a clear and organized list of, like, this is super important stuff, like important details. Even as a human engineer, as a user, when I click it, I expect a new task to be added to the task list displayed in the interface. Like, this is really, really good stuff. As a user, when a mark a task gets completed by clicking on check button, etc., I want the task to visually indicate its completion status. This is super, super good. And we're just running through this like once, and starting with this insanely ambiguous statement. Yeah, so this is super great. I'm actually more than happy with this, but we're gonna try something new because I got inspired. Well, to kind of wrap up what I intend to do here. So when I click approve here, we're actually going to create like a new application state, which is like showing the list of user stories. So we're going to store the user stories actually. So when I click approve, we're going to store the user story in the like the application has its own like hidden folder in the project where I store embeddings and whatever, and we're going to store the user stories there as well. So when you open this thing, you actually see a list of user stories first, and then you can like ask for new stuff. But then next to the user story, you can say create implementation plan, and that's going to move us into a new state in the application where we kind of do the same thing. Like you have a list of implementation plans. Yeah, well, I guess you don't. Yeah, you have a list of implementation plans, and then it's working on creating like the implementation plan. I'm not sure how it's going to look like, but the point is that it runs a new flow for creating the actual implementation plan based on the user stories. So I'm very excited about that. But I think we can make this even better, because I'm trying to look at, I think I'm going to sit down for a day and just watch a bunch of YouTube videos, because there's so much good content out there talking about agents and workflows and prompting, and there's so many aspects that goes into this. But I typically only get my YouTube time when I'm on the toilet, having 2 kids. And even then, like the 3-year-old this morning was like, of course he gets upset exactly when I have a moment to myself, and he's like trying to get in when I'm doing my business, which is basically watching YouTube. And yeah, but I got like the gist of it. So I get like 5 like separated 5 minutes of YouTube content, but it helps, it inspires me. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna go in here, and let's see, this is just explorations. We're gonna go in here, and we are going to initialize the workflow. So the idea is we are going to give the agent some questions, like some primed questions. So for example, for the product manager, we're going to have an array of questions, and I'm not sure what we're going to call them, primers or something. And then when we initialize the workflow, we're going to send messages to ChatGPT or GPT 3.5, and we're going to say, what do you know about this application? We're going to wait for that response. And then, what do you know about the technologies used in this application? Wait for a response. What do you know about creating user stories for web applications? Wait for a response. And then we're going to take that conversation. It's like an array of conversation. And we're going to store that in the agent. So when we actually prompt the agent, we're going to make that primed conversation part of the full set of conversation. Like it was the actual initiator for the prompt. So that's how we're going to prime the context. And it was very inspiring. Like, it made so much sense. Like, this is the thing. We think that these models knows things, like as if its memory is its training data, is all the how should I put that? Like, we're training it on a bunch of text, right? And we kind of have this intuition that it knows all the text. And when you ask it something, it's just retrieving text and kind of putting it in a natural language format. But that's not it. It doesn't know anything. So you have to build what it knows first. And then you can start asking it questions. So a simple primer is like the description. You're an amazing product manager that is an expert. Like, that will to some degree prime how it responds, but when you want it to respond with like knowledge-based things, you should really ask it to retrieve that knowledge first and keep that knowledge in the context, and then you iterate on whatever your prompt is. That, or at least that's how I'm thinking about it. So that's what we're gonna try. So let's go in and give it this iAgent definition. Is going to have, we're just going to call it primers. So it's going to be a string array. And then we're going to have primers. And let's just insert the exact questions I was thinking about. And let's give the primers to the other agents as well. But yeah, I'm really pumped for this. And like, having this experience where you can go in, you can uncheck what you don't care about, you can change the text and just update it. Like, I really like this experience. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a good human agent interaction. So what were the questions? So, and it has access to its function while it's priming. It sounds so fancy, while it's priming. It's not that fancy. Cool. But the point is that the description is just something that's like static, while the primers is you generate content, or you generate context for it. So how should we do this? So we have our create agents flow. We have a new agents flow. And the point is, yeah, so this is good because now we can make this async. And we can say once agents flow, and then we can say return agents flow dot initialize. So we're gonna give it, let's see. Now, yeah, okay, so how are we going to store yeah, I think we just need like an what should we call this? We could call it context, but it's like a prelude, conversation prelude, prime message. Let's just call it prime messages. And this is going to be an array of, I think it's role and text. We're going to make it like OpenAI. We'll fix that later. how are we going to make this request? Okay. So one thing, we need to keep changing the API of this. Like this is how, but I think this is a really good process for API design because we're actually trying to build something, not try to like figure out how the API should look like. It's just it turns out the way it turns out because of what we need. And what we need now is to be able to okay, so what we're going to do is in the initialize, we're going to pass in a callback to actually do the prompting. So it has a way to do it because I don't want this abstraction to be tied to a specific model or API or anything like that. So we're going to do that. And then the question is now, how do we actually update this prime messages? Like it feels a little bit icky that I do this and then we just mutate it. But I think that's fine for now. Yeah, it's fine for now. And then, okay, so we have create agents flow. Do we you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna return it. This doesn't need to be async. What we're gonna do is call, instead of initialize, we're going to, let's see, try something. Prime agents. This is going to be async. And it's basically, it doesn't need to like know anything, but we need this callback, which is gonna which is going to get the prompt and it's gonna return to us a response, a promise of a message. Oh, prompt. And what we need to do here, oh, I'm missing something. There we go. We're gonna go through the agents and we're going to go through the primed messages or primaries, going through the primaries. Oh, that's also interesting. I don't quite like this. So what we also could do, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have these primers, and we're just gonna return them. Primers, agent, primers. And then we're gonna make it the responsibility of the, flow to keep a reference to these prime messages based on the, we just use the role of the agent as reference. So what we would need is, there's so much code and typing in here. That's agents flow. So we are gonna have primed messages, which is gonna be a record of really like the agent roles. I don't think that's important here. Let's just do string. And then it's going to be an array of role, string, message, text, string. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is call prime agents. Like we can do this from the outside. So we can choose when do we prime the agents. We can reprime the agents. For example, I'm going to track when I'm gonna track when we make changes to the code, so that if you, for example, run an implementation and you go back to produce some user stories, you need to reprime the agents because they'll read information about the project, and the project has changed. So the stuff like that needs to work. So we are going to go through for let agent of this dot agent, and then we are going to for hello for, I guess, primer of this, or agent dot primers. We are gonna, yeah, so first this dot primers, prime messages, agent of role equals, or an empty array. Well, no, we always want it to be an empty array. Well, I guess we can rather say well, let's say messages, and this is going to be an array of role name, oh, sorry, string, text string. So what we're going to do is for each primer, we're going to say messages push role user, and then text is going to be primer. And then we are going to await response, await prompt primer. So this is going to give us the answer, messages of push role. What do you use in the message thread? OpenAI completion. I can't remember. Role use, it's assistant, yeah. Role assistant, is it text? Ah, it's content. Let's do content then. And let's just say content. Content. And then we're gonna push that thing, and then we're gonna say this dot prime messages agent dot role equals messages. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So now we can wait for this. It can prime all the things, and maybe we should console log priming done, and then console log JSON stringify this dot prime messages. Cool. Oh, sorry. Yes. I think this is good. So now we need to call this. And what I think is like, how do we get these primed messages into the actual prompt? I am thinking that if we go here and look at, not workspace, but add messages. So on send prompt, we're going to also pass prime messages. So what we yeah, prime messages. So you get the prime messages for the agent here. And then you pass that into add message. And then when we do this, we just concat the prime messages here. And we're good. That's the idea. I'm excited for this. First, we need to actually prime the agent. So the question is, where do we do that? We don't really have... So we don't really have a UI state for this, like application state for this yet. We will add actual application state for the different workflows, and part of that will be like initializing the workflow, where we can prime the agent, actually create the workflow, prime the agents, and do the thing. But for now, we are gonna. Just do it here. So handle prompts. Yeah, let's just do it here. This current flow prime agents. And then we need to pass in a way for it to... Oh, this is interesting. We should probably... Yeah, wait a minute. So prime agents needs to... This callback needs to be the same callback we use for the emitter. Where's the emitter? On prompt emitter. On send prompt emitter. We don't really care about... Let's see. So we don't really care about params. We don't really care about the name, but we do care about the description. We want that to be part of that. We want that to be part of the conversation. And we need... what else do we need? Do we need anything else? No, I don't think so. So here we actually have to pass in agent description, agent.functions, model agent.model, prompt will be the primer, and temperature will be the temperature of the agent. So now we can say prime agents, we can say this add message. Yeah, how do we do that? Add message. Does this return a promise of what? What does this actually return? Oh, wait, I need to separate some things. So yeah, I need to separate some things because I just want the response here. Why do I have this in here? That's a message. Okay. Okay, now I know what we want to do. So what we want to do here, we actually want to return the message with the usage. That's the thing we want to do here. And then on add message, where we call add message, we want to say message usage await, and then at the end of that we want to do this. Where's model? Oh, where did I put it? I think I put it on the wrong spot. No, add message. You're done with that. Why don't you have access to the model? Oh, it's because you need an as GPT. As GPT model. Model is as model. Yeah, because this is part of the actual like sending a prompt. So that needs to be handled like that. But now we should be free to go in and yeah. So what we can do now is get all the things, and we can say basic. Well, I guess we need to wait because yeah, we get the usage here, which I'm not tracking usage with embeddings and priming and stuff. It's only the actual conversation, which I guess is fine. But we should probably track the usage of other things as well. But anyways, this add message, and let's see here. So we have a description. So the description is interesting because we really only want that as part of the first. You know what? We're not gonna have the description here. We are rather gonna if this agent's index or this agent 0 equals agent. So if it's the first agent, oh, not model, it's the prompt. So if it's the first one, we're gonna create agent.description, and then we're gonna include the primer. I think, or no, wait, we need it for every. Oh, yeah, so this is interesting. Because when we ask, yeah, we want a continuous conversation here. So we need to keep track of, oh, this is interesting. How do we actually do that? How do we do this now? So here are the messages. Yeah, so we don't actually have. Yeah, so we need, okay, cool. So we still need this, let's just call it context messages. And this is gonna be this array of role string, content string, which is basically user or assistant, but yeah, since this is generic. So we're gonna have this also for, let's just do that right away on send prompt emitter. Here we're also going to have context messages. And when we send, do I need tsignore in there? So when we do this, we can say this prime messages, or you should call it context messages. Agent.role. Yes, so now we have context messages that we're gonna like put in front of the current message. Yeah, we need to do the same here. And we need to do the same here. But here the context messages is the messages, right? Oh, this is interesting. Because when we add the message, that's when we add the user. Like when we actually call add message here, we add the user. So we kind of have to do that after the fact, or we'll have like duplicates. I'm just gonna make a comment. Calling prompt adds a user. To the array, to its own messages array. Yeah, let's just say that. And then what we're gonna do is, okay, now we can start looking at this. So we have prompt, model, temperature, functions, context messages. Here we're gonna return a message and then add message. Oh, what was that? Oh, content. That will be the prompt. And then function, model, temperature, and context messages is going to be part of that as well. And then 3 arguments. So wait a minute, where do we call this? Oh, so now we have, okay, let's just put this into a method. This dot handle tool calls, and that's like, oh, we actually use yeah. You could argue that we don't actually need to do this. We could implement this in the add message. But okay, let's just keep this. So, so we don't have to say async here. We can rather make this private handle tool calls. I can't remember the typing, but let's, oops. Oh. So the typing for these tool calls, where is it? It's OpenAI beta. Threads. Oh, that's interesting. It's not really that one I'm using anymore. So this would be, it's not that one. Chat completions function. Is it that one? Chat completion mesh. That's the one I'm looking for. I guess they're like similar. Yeah, that's the one. Where were we? Cool. So now we have that, and we can say the same here. Tool calls this dot handle tool calls tool calls. model as GPT model. Yeah, and then we don't have, why is this? Oh, wait. We don't have context messages there yet, but we're gonna add it now. So context messages. I should probably just create a type for this. Role string, content string. So we have context messages, and then we're gonna do the magic, which is boop, concat, boop. Oh, okay. Yeah, so for me, I have to like say user or assistant. Yeah, which is fine. Yeah, but then it's like wrong here. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, let's do an, God damn it. Kind of annoying. Role is user or assistant. Content string. It's okay. I'm doing it the same here. I'm like converting to. So here we also need the context messages. And I guess we need the same here as array of role, user, or assistant. Content is string. There we go. So now I think we're done. So what should happen now is that when I fire it up, we open the workspace, we should see its prime result. Yeah, let's try that. Oh, one more thing. Yeah, because now we put the agent description in the first primer, and then we keep context messages is messages. So we kind of keep the thing going. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Let's see what happens. So theoretical. So we're creating the summary of the application, creating the embeddings. Oh, we already have a problem. Category properties of undefined. Oh, wait a minute. We have another issue. Handle function calls. Because here we. Wait a minute. Sorry. Here. Handle function. Oh, handle tool. Oh, I'm calling tool calls there. So here we're saying, god damn it. God damn it. This kind of sucks. Because now I'm like, I built this thing to build up the messages with agents, but now we're kind of using part of the same flow to kind of build up this background thing. So it's trying to, so the agent during its priming tried to do a function call, and now it's like I'm running it through the actual flow to handle the function call, which adds it to like the actual list of messages and stuff, which I don't want. And the question is how, so this should really be separated, but how would we do that? Yeah, this is interesting. So what I think we need to do, I think we need to pass in this object as part of the flow. So when we create the flow, we pass in this object, which tells it how to call the functions. And then we can still call this handle function calls, which has the function calls. And it will like populate array of messages and everything. But we can also, in the primer, we can change it. So instead of like handle tool calls, we can actually put this back, and then yeah, at least for now, we're just going to put this back. I'm going to reflect on that. So handle calls async. Let's put that. Oh, what did I do now? It's like this? No, like this? No. Oh, there we go. So we're just gonna do something similar. Yeah, but now we don't have the typing. How are we gonna do this? This is kind of annoying. This is kind of annoying. What I think we're gonna do, I need to reflect on this, how we should do this. I have a feeling we should put the actual function calls as part of initializing the flow. So you pass the agents, you pass this object of how the agents calls their respective functions. And then the last object is options. And then we can just call handle function calls here. And it will do that thing. And then the primer can just internally yeah, and then when we're priming, yeah, or we will have another method, which would be like handle. No, that's the thing, because handle function calls is just about putting it into the messages. It's not really about generating the value. So that's what I'm a little bit confused by here. It's almost like yeah, but it needs its pending state and everything. Yeah, I'm very unsure how I'm gonna do that. I need to reflect on that. But what we can do for now is I'm gonna copy this. Where's the other thing? Here. Async. Oh, I don't think. There we go. And then instead of doing all of this, we're just gonna do some simple checks now. So basically, we're gonna switch on the function called subname. Oh, sorry. We're gonna return promise.all function calls dot map. And then we're gonna switch on the name. Switch name, and then if it's get application features description, we are gonna return this. Yeah, that's the only thing we have now, so we know this is gonna work. But this is not how it should work. What did I do now? There we go. Why aren't you happy? Oh yeah, because now I'm not. Oh my god. So we need to return. Output is await that thing. And I guess we need async here. Was it ID? Function call dot ID, and name is function call dot name. I think we need all of that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think this is it. Well, we need to find a way to call these functions as part of the messages and not part of the messages. Anyways, let's see what happens now. Oh, do we still have an error? Where's the error? Oh, there we go. So let's open the project folder and see if we're getting some primers now. No, we're not. What the hell? Canary properties. Reading type. But where is this coming from? Oh. Ugh. I wish I had source maps for this. Handle function calls. Why is it calling handle function calls? Why is it going in? Oh, that's why. I put it in the wrong place. Oh, no wonder. Tool calls. So this is the actual on send prompt. This is the one that should have this one, and the other one should have this one. There we go. Okay, let's try again. So we're generating some code. We're getting the summary. Are we getting some? Oh, there we got the priming. So let's read it. Why isn't you are a thingy? Prime agents. If agent 0 equals agents. I find that a little bit weird. Why isn't this? I'm going through the agents. I should be able to do an equality check like this. Why doesn't that check? Like this stuff like makes me. Well, this is literally the object in the array. Uh, oh wait, could it be? Oh, look at this. It's just a prompt, or like primer. So we need to say, oops, sorry. It's just, so it is actually asking for that. And then we say const prompt equals like, oh, prompt content. And then we do this. Cool. So it is actually asking for that. And then said, the application is a demo application that uses Vite, blah, 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 blah. What do you know about the technologies? The application uses Vite for the build configuration. For developing web mode, this work to create a responsive and functional web application. What do you know about creating user stories for web application? When creating user the features and components of the application. Here are some key points to keep in mind. Feature. Okay, this is interesting. So now it's primed with this context. So what happens now when we ask it? I want task management. So the context window should be much bigger. I wonder why it still calls this though. Yeah, you see this? It's way more tokens. But now I can say using Google. Want to view a list of items? Yes, I do. Add an item to my favorite. No, I don't want that. Want to search for a specific. No, I don't want that. No, I don't want that. Update my profile information. No. Yeah, just thinking about what I think about this. View a list of items in that. It feels like it didn't consider my prompt at all. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Let's try again. This is also interesting. It's kind of just putting in the same thing. Yeah, what do you know about the technologies used in this application? I don't think that makes a lot of sense. So we can probably remove that priming. This is interesting though. Setting up Vite for a project. Yeah, I don't know. I want task management. Yeah. List of tasks in the application. As user want to add a new task to the list. The market task gets completed. Yeah, like this makes sense. Like what's interesting is that it's taking more into account, it seems, that you actually have authentication. I don't know. I have no idea how this potentially improve. But we definitely don't need that other priming question. By the way, I need to check. I think I have a meeting shortly. Let's see. How do I get to my calendar? There we go. Calendar. Oh yeah, nice. No, we have some time. What do you know about the technologies in this application? Let's just remove. What features are in this application? What user experiences are in this application? That's an interesting question. Let's try that. And now we're going to try to prime the UX engineer as well. Where are you, UX engineer? So what we're going to do, what do you know about Tailwind CSS? It's interesting. Like this one should probably also know about the let's just ask it. What do you know about this application? Because it's prompt with like your front-end engineer, blah blah blah. What components? Well, that would require access to code, which I haven't added yet. So we can't. So what we could do is like we could ask it what. Yeah, I don't know what we would ask it. Let's just ask it, what do you know about this application? What do you know about creating Tailwind CSS for this application? Anyways, that's something. Okay, let's just try this now and see what happens. It's kind of annoying that we have to wait so long. Priming these things would be nice if okay, so what does it say? What do you know about this application? I'm sorry, but you haven't provided the name of the. Oh, I don't think it has the function. Yeah, sorry, it doesn't have the function. Get application overview. Doop, boop. Let's see. So we got our summary. So the thing I think would be nice here is that we just have a way to identify if the actual project has changed. And a way to do that is just, we're going through all the source files anyways. So what we can do is that we can look at the modified time of those files and then use the latest modified time as an indicator of, do you need to produce a new summary? Do you need to create embeddings? Yeah, maybe we should just do that. And then do you need to prime the agents again? Given that we actually store the primed agents. Yeah. Anyways, what does it say now? So for the, where are you? That's product manager. Where are you? UX engineer. Oh. Why doesn't it have? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I'm doing this wrong. Where are we? So prime agents should really, it shouldn't be the first agent. It should be the first message. So messages.length equals 0. Then we add the agent description, of course. All right, let's try again. Oops. Whoops. I have a colleague that came home, back home. Well, he did come home from a long vacation, so I want to talk with him a little bit before my first session today. This web application is a demo that uses Vite for bundling, Vue for front, Tailwind CSS for staff, Firebase for backend, and Firestore for blah blah blah. That's fine. What do you know about creating Tailwind CSS components? Based on the information, the application uses Tailwind CSS for sound. To create Tailwind, you can utilize the utility classes provided by Tailwind CSS to style and in your view. By applying the appropriate classes, you can create visually appealing and responsive components for the web application. Additionally, you can leverage Tailwind CSS features such as utility classes, responsive design, custom configurations to enhance the user interface of the application. So this is really good priming. Well, in theory, it's good priming. Like it should, instead of you describing the agent in detail, you rather create these priming questions that makes it create its own description. And what's interesting is that I can give a function to go and use the Tailwind CSS embeddings I have with all the example components. So that would enhance it even more. But I don't like, I need to wait for this before I can start asking questions, which is kind of annoying. I also wonder how much money it costs to prime these agents. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna do the same thing for the we're just gonna do the same thing for the engineer. And then we're gonna kind of just go through it, and then I'm gonna, what do you know about this application? What do you know about creating state management in an application like this? Well, we should just have like 2 primers. Well, you have like, what do you know about this application? That gives it some context, and then what kind of already exists in the application, and then what do you know about like doing, yeah. So let's what Tailwind CSS components exist in this application? So yeah, but that doesn't make sense here without the code. What do you know about creating that? it is an interesting. I'm just gonna ask it. See what happens. What state management is used in this application? What do you know about state? Or how would you approach implementing new management in this application? Yeah, I'm just gonna ask it. We have to feel this out. How would you approach new Tailwind CSS components in this application? How would you approach creating user stories for this application? Okay, interesting. Let's see what it says. To even use, I will follow these items. Using these built-in reactivity may suffice. For more complex scenarios, Vuex or other state management libraries like Redux can be considered. But this is really good, because this is where I've seen it fail a lot in terms of implementation. It's that it falls quite flat implementing state management, because it just doesn't seem to consider these things that it's describing here. But it's also very broad, right? It's talking about how to install, which is not something I really. So what I think is wrong with my question is I'm asking it how to. Where is it? Like I'm asking it implementing like new state management as if it's like, I shouldn't say new. How would you approach implementing state management in this application? Okay, so we're gonna run it. We're gonna run it again, and then we're just gonna do that. Go through it once, and then I'm gonna stop the stream. And before we do anything more with this, I need to implement checking the modified time of the source files so that we can stop running all these embedding requests and priming requests. Sorry, when not necessary, and it boots up faster as well. So that's gonna help. But that means we also need to store the priming, which we can do. To implement state management in this application. I'm a little bit hung up that it wants to like install something new. So I've been thinking about like, this is like, you build a very specific type of application here. It's Firebase, Vue, and Tailwind CSS. And it shouldn't actually use the terminal, the agent. So you shouldn't install any new dependencies or anything like that. You should just, I want to pre-select the technology to just keep it like narrow and predictable. Um, um, how would you approach implementing state management in this application using the existing using the how would you approach state management in this using the tools available to you? Yeah. Yeah, because I think this is really important. And then the way, and this is how I think about how you make these agents and agent workflows more powerful and capable, is like, okay, now let's create an agent's workflow with a very, very narrow scope and predictable scope on the outcome. Like, it has to be Firebase, it has to be Vue, it has to be Tailwind CSS. And when we find a good workflow, set of workflows that actually makes it able to create some value out of that, then you can find an abstraction where, okay, let's not hard code the dependencies. Let's create an abstraction over this which finds those dependencies and sets up a project for you with the technology you need, and it kind of becomes its own workflow, I guess. Finding the right technology and installing dependencies and stuff like that, I'm thinking. Anyways, let's open it up. I wonder how much money I've been using here. Nice. Like, it doesn't cost me anything, which is nice to be able to iterate on this, and it doesn't really cost me anything. That would be a huge problem if GPT-4 is the only thing I could use. It just wouldn't work. Would bankrupt me. And I don't want to use a local model, even though that would make it completely free, because if this is going to become a thing, this app, we can't have a local model, because these users, they doesn't necessarily have powerful machines and stuff. Using tools, I will follow these steps. Initialize, but you don't have Vuex, do you? Oh wait, did you install that? Vue. Okay, that's interesting. Why does it, like, I feel like it's a, oh, wait a minute. It's a little bit too random. Using the existing, using only the existing dependencies. Yeah, I'm gonna try once more, and then we're gonna run through it, regardless of what it says. Regardless of what it says. It is kind of cool, this Explorer. So, like, now we're just gonna test if it feels like it overall does an improvement. But we really need a way to test like individual agents efficiently. I'm still thinking about that. So to approach in this with Vue.js 7 and Firebase, I would recommend I would recommend using Vuex for managing. Okay, but that's fine. Like Vuex seems to be an important dependency, at least if we're going to use this model. I want task management. I want to view the view as front and load from the main entry point. Oh, that's interesting. Like, that's also a thing. Like, user stories shouldn't be... Oh, this is interesting. Wow, this is very interesting. Like, this is shit, right? I'm giving it all this context about the application, but now it's like, yeah, you know what? This is such a great example, because now it has a shit ton of context about the existing application, but now it only has I want task management. That's, if you think about words, like the for it to predict what to do next, this is the only, it has 2 words to predict what to do next. While it has all this other context to predict what to do next. So it doesn't understand that this is a user and it should use all that other context to build up this exact thing. It just predicts like the next. So you kind of think the more it knows, the better it will be. I think this, but this is a very specific problem. It's like you want to build up a lot of existing knowledge, but then you want to use that knowledge or that context to give a good answer to a user prompt. I would think this would just... Maybe this is more about the actual UX engineer prompt. Sorry, product manager prompt. Oh, yeah, so... okay, yeah, so this is... I think this is just a bad prompt. So when there aren't any user stories, the user is asking, I want help to create user stories for this change request. Like, the thing is, I don't want to say feature. Well, let's try that. Maybe we can do this, because this is really request for change feature. Yeah. Oh, and now I have to... Yeah, no, we can't iterate on this. I'm just gonna give it one more chance. But I have to fix that modified thing before we can actually do anything here. Oh, where did it go? Oh, did it hang? Yeah, it didn't. So it's still on embedder. So it makes that request. Does it hang on OpenAI completion? It has to, because it doesn't show summary. So this is what's breaking it. Why? Or it could be the stringify. Okay, let's move that stringify. Code JSON string. Code JSON string. And then we'll put the there instead. Yeah. Activity monitor. I wonder what is breaking it. It might, yeah, maybe it's something completely different. That's really difficult to debug. Yeah, I was going to ask you because I haven't received the email. I was thinking, oh, he's still writing it. But it must be nice for you as well. Kind of, I love doing that, like writing down. That's why I do all the talking on the stream. It's just a way to, it's a different way of like making notes and reason about things and reflect on things. It must be nice to kind of just go through everything. Make an object callable. Yeah, agents are functions. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how you would think of that in JavaScript. Agents are functions was a big breakthrough. Yeah, no, you don't really have that. But what does it actually? Yeah, so you have a call method, and then it's, but that is that like more syntactic sugar kind of thing. I guess it like it helps the mental model. But it literally is like you can like put parentheses after the object, and then it calls that special call method. You don't have anything like that in JavaScript as of now, at least. To process, what was I doing? No, we were changing that. Yeah, I want task management. Right. As a user, I want to create new task. I want to assign tasks to it. No, I don't want that. Status of task. No, I want to view list. Yeah. No, I don't want criteria. No. I can change this. So user, I want to delete tasks. Boop. Update. Kind of annoying, the function calling. It feels like it's doing it like way too much. Okay, let's approve this. Want to manage tasks with a visually appealing intuitive task management interface. As you want to create new tasks, use a form with input field for task details and a button to submit the task as a user. Want to view a list of tasks playing a clean organization with each task. Items show relevant information such as task name, due date, and status. By clicking associated with the thingy, such as task name. I don't want due date and yeah. So the thing about what I feel like they're not doing well yet is like dealing with ambiguity. Even though I try to be very specific about that, but it like how does it know how to determine ambiguity? So like relevant information such as like this is super ambiguous. Maybe there should be like an ambiguity agent that just looks at each user story and just validates ambiguity. Anyways, in the clean, whatever, such as showing task description for task with an input field for task description and a button to submit the task. Click on it. Okay, great. Bloop. Cool. Approve. I'm very curious what the engineer does now. As user want to manage tasks with a visually appealing intuitive task manager, the stage should include a task array to store task objects. Nice. I want to create new tasks, but this is technical again. Like, maybe the engineer can't really contribute with much in the user story thing because it so quickly becomes technical that it makes more sense to do this through the implementation workflow. But anyways, the stage should update the tasks array with the new task object upon submission. The stage should provide the task array to render the list of tasks. Like, this is good stuff. That it traces a few on the initial. It's about writing about management for saying I struggle to implement cleanly. That is an understatement. Yeah, few shot prompting. For the sake of streaming, you should make your. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't zoom in. Oh shit, does it not handle? Oh god damn it! I have a web view here. Yeah, because I have pretty zoomed in on the coding, right? But yeah, looking at this, it's kind of bad. Yeah, user story from specs. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking as well. But this is like this is good information to have. Question is if it should be added here or later. But I don't feel like the priming I did now actually helped. I think it will help if it has more. Like, I'm relying, the priming is just general. It's just asking like based on its kind of trained data. But if the priming was related to, so for example, the UX engineer was primed with the actual components available to it instead of just generally Tailwind CSS stuff, it would probably be much better. Yeah, and what does better mean? Yeah. But we're kind of throwing in, at least for now, we're throwing in like 3 times as many tokens, and we're not getting a 3 times better result. That's for sure. Oh, that's interesting syntax. Yeah, they can talk to each other. Though I haven't found, like for user stories, it feels like more of well, initially I had a flow where the agents would just pass information to each other and kind of go through the flow. But then doing that, I felt like it was more important that the user was engaging with the user stories. So I changed that flow. But I haven't gotten into like agents. You have an agent with a suggestion, another agent kind of just validating that, passing back its like response to looking at those user stories, and then the other agent reiterates those user stories based on what the other agent said and and tells the other agent what do you think about it now, and then you kind of I've seen these agents workflows. I'm an agent now. But I've seen these examples where you kind of or these APIs where you kind of define the number of iterations that should happen. So I guess conceptually you would have like one agent doing something, another agent validating, and it would say, okay, do it 3 times and then you're done. Because when do you know if it's done? It just keeps iterating forever. Yeah, I'm super eager to see the how you approach the state stuff. But yeah, so for we're gonna keep. Maybe I'm gonna comment out. I'm a little bit unsure about my next step. What I'm most motivated to do. If it should be moving to the implementation or implementation plan workflow, because I'm kind of at a point here where okay, we can try to kind of work on the context for these agents, give them more specific context like the actual Tailwind CSS components that's going to be used, give it the Firebase documentation so that it can be more, well, I guess it has a lot of Firebase knowledge, but they are pretty good now, the user stories, or at least good enough to start exploring an implementation plan. Yeah, they're good enough. Maybe that will be more fun. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. I have to go because I need to talk to a colleague. Should have conditions for but in your iterations you always have a human involved, and like well, the problem with web technology, like I think the biggest problem with language models is that they will always have stale information. And first of all, yeah, it's a big pain to handle docs, but you're forced to do that. Like, what if Firebase, or either you have to lock your dependencies to match the training. Like if you have training data on the language model up to 2023, you have to lock your dependency because they might change the API. Or maybe you're using a dependency that has had like breaking changes to their API for like 5 years, or over the period of 5 years. How will you ensure that it uses the latest version of the API? So Firebase is a good example. They completely changed their API. I don't remember when, but as I've been playing around with the agents, like just using the LLM, it just randomly picks one version of the API versus the other. So I had to be very specific of which version of the API it should use. But then again, it was GPT 3.5, so maybe... Yeah, arbitrary. I agree with that. Ideally, you would have some way of when is it good enough? But that's like conceptually, what is good enough? That's even something we say as humans. Like, when is it good enough? How do you evaluate if something is good enough? But then you can say, well, if it's good enough for the user, then it's good enough. But then you need human intervention, which maybe that's fine. But yeah, I haven't really played around with it, so I'm just like reflecting. Yeah, work with older. I really want to figure out how to. I've been playing around with embeddings and how to make them better. So, for example, I tried using like a crawler to just go and grab HTML from documentation, but that's like really bad. But then I tried doing it more manually. I manually crawled instead and manually made Markdown out of documentation. So it was like a very specific site. So I knew the selectors and how I wanted the Markdown to be built up, and that helped a lot. But then how do you make that completely generic? Which is also why I'm thinking like, okay, if you scope it down to something like to specific technology here, like Firebase Vue and Tailwind CSS, well, you can go and create really good embeddings for that, because you can create super efficient embeddings for the Firebase documentation instead of having this generic documentation embedder thing. Just the fact that, like, I was trying for a design system, having this agent that would build suggestions for component composition using a specific component library. But in the documentation, all the code examples is behind a button click. Like there's a tab to show the code. So I was trying to like crawl the documentation to give it some good embeddings for components. But then it wouldn't show anything. Like the crawler didn't work. So I had to create a specific crawler that would actually go in and click all these tabs to show the code, and then extract the code to actually generate the embeddings. And it says so much of where we are at. So these LLMs are insanely powerful, but there's so many challenges in the tool building around it to give them the correct information, so that, and reliable information and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the same. There's something that needs to change around it. Like even having maybe even like REST APIs. Like you have a HTTP status code. Maybe we'll start actually adding some not only status code, but like an AI natural language text response or something. That's going to be like a standard. I don't know. And also kind of like how we think about how documentation sites should work, or even RSS feeds. Oh, maybe that's not a good example. But yeah, you have an AI format. Just like you have SEO for crawling bots, you kind of have an AI version of your page for AI agents to consume your documentation efficiently or something. I don't know. Yeah, so for the components, so this is a view, and then I have Tailwind CSS. And then I have a subscription, not a subscription, but Tailwind, they have like a component library, which is really nice. So I've been extracting some of that, but only for testing. So I haven't like actually put embeddings for a full-on component library. Yeah, the key for states. Everything is marked down in natural language. How do you actually produce the state? So you're prompting the agent produces some like state. Is it still markdown and you parse the markdown to kind of identify the state, or do you make it do a function call, or do you return JSON from the agent? Okay, yeah. Please send me the email. I'd love to read that, and then I can give you some feedback on that, because I really have to go now anyways. But yeah, this is super, super interesting. So thanks for all the input. I'm learning a lot from this, and it also helps me like trigger different reflections as well. So that's super nice. So I'll be back streaming when I've cleared up some stuff here and we can actually do something. Either it will be trying the implementation workflow, or it will be enhancing the priming of the agent, like the context of the agents, to see if we can get like even better user stories. But as I said, I don't know like what are better user stories. I think they're kind of good enough. Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm missing here is like asking questions about, do you want to persist the tasks? Do you want to authenticate? It's very specific things I have in mind. Because it knows that the project is using Firebase. That's part of its context. So it doesn't make that correlation between like suggesting handling tasks in this case and my natural intuition that persistence has something to do with that, and you should figure that out. So yeah, but I don't want to get stuck on user stories either. Yeah, anyways, we'll talk later. Have a good day, and we'll talk later. Yeah, bye for now.